and welcome to the One-armed-reefer YouTube channel. Hope you're all well and having a good week. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, comment if you need to. Today's another top 5 tips for testing this time. These are little things that we don't take into consideration when we are testing. Like tip number 1, do it at the same time every day. Always through the days, tank fluctuates, so as pH will go up, as alkalinity will go up and down as well, and so will everything else. A lot of people don't take this into consideration, so you could test at 9 o'clock in the morning and get a KH of 8.4. By dinner time, that's going to be 7.6 or 9.4, depending on which way it goes up and down. These are things that, as I say, people don't think about. You just test. Same as if you do a test at home and take it to the shop, it'll only calibrate with each other if both tests are done at the same time. Now, I don't mean as in you taking the water to the shop, the time in between that. It's the time that you take the water out of the tank. That's when you need to be doing your test against it. So a lot of people, when they get tests at the shop and they go home and test the water themselves, it's totally different. But it's going to be because there's a different time period in each part. Time's passed, so you're going to have the fluctuation. So when you're doing your testing, do it the same day, same time every week if you do it once a week. If you're doing it more than one time a week, stay at the same time every time, because then you know that's when the KH is going to be at the right level, or the pH, or whatever else you're testing for. It gives you continuity then, and it helps you get better stability in the system. So number 1 is always time. Number 2, location. With certain tests, it's looking for different colours. I use a lot of Hana testers, so I don't need to worry about that. But with your sulfates, Red Sea and so on, you're watching it change colour. Now if you can imagine, you're looking for a pink liquid turning purple, but you're doing it in front of your fish tank, which has got a bright blue light. This is going to alter your ability to read the test. So you're always better doing it in a different room. I do all mine in the kitchen. I'll insert a video in a minute of my setup and what I use. Whenever you're doing the test, have it behind a white background so you can get the clearness of it. You know you can see the change a lot easier. It's hard trying to find water turning from blue to purple when you're sat in front of a blue light. It's not a good idea. You want location, you want it somewhere out the way, away from your tank, with natural light, or at least good quality, clear, white light, not blue. So that's number 2. Number 3, something us men are terrible at doing: follow the instructions. The guys that have designed these tests, and the girls and all the scientists and such like, are a lot cleverer than us. So if they've devised it needs to be shaken for 30 seconds, shake it for 30 seconds. Set a timer on your smartphone, or get Alexa to set a timer for you. Either way, follow them to the key, follow them as they say, sorry. It's the best way of doing it. Then you've got more chance of getting an accurate test. And do it the same way every time you do it. I have a specialised syringe which takes up 10 ml of water each time, that I use for the Hana checkers. It puts in a little bit more than what the Hana vial says, but I know I use that every time, so I'm going to get the same consistency. The tests that we use aren't as good as the ones that you get from an ICP test. For them to keep them at an affordable level, they're not as accurate as they could be. But it's not a matter of how spot on they are, it's more the consistency of what you're going to use them for. So you know, you've got an error of say 10% on each one. I know Hana's is 10%, so 0.1 of whatever. If it's up or down either way, you know that your KH is going to be within that realm for 10%. But it doesn't matter whether it's in or out by that much. It's not going to make a big difference. What you're following is the fact that every week it's going to be at roughly the right KH, roughly the same as what the previous test was. And that gives you the continuity of it. And that's the main thing. A lot of these tests nowadays, like there's a new one out by Aquaspin, which is produced by API. API are not one of the best tests in the country, but they do the job, and certain high-end reefers still use them, but personally I'm not a big fan. But the spinning wheel takes out the error of the human eye, because what I see as pink you don't see as pink, and so on and so forth. That just gives you a standardised test every time you go take it. So you know every time it's going to be spot on, and it's not relying on our eyesight. Another reason I use Hannah's, because I don't have to worry about my eyesight, because it's not the best. So number 3, follow instructions to a T. If it says check it for 30 seconds, check it for 30 seconds. If it says put 4 mil in, what I do with the Red Sea stuff, before I squeeze the little container, I put 1 drop in, tap it, so it stabilises and gets all air bubbles out of that first drop. So, follow your instructions. I know as men don't like reading them and don't like following them, you know, would rather spend an hour trying to build an IKEA reading instructions than do it in 5 minutes when we've read them. This is one of them times we really need to follow instructions, and to the dot, to the letter, so to speak. And number 4, prepare everything prior. Before I even start testing, I'll go in the kitchen, because that's where I do my testing. I'll get all my tests, I'll put them on the table. I'll get a sample of tank water in a container, a sample of RO water in a container, and then an empty container for emptying the waste in. That way, if everything's laid out, and the most important thing, a cuppa. Always got to have a brew when you're doing your testing. Have it all laid out, then you've got less chance of getting distracted and walking away from it. My biggest problem is I've got mild ADD, so the slightest thing sets me off and I get distracted and forget what I'm doing. If everything's there, ready for you to go, you've no excuse to get up and go away. I need more water, I need this and all that. Make sure you have enough tank water when you've gone in there in your sample jar to do all your testing. Make sure you've got enough RO to wash everything out when you're done. And then another jar just to tip stuff in that you don't need anymore. So get your station prepped ready. The easier you make this, the more chance you are doing it all correctly and get it over and done with as well. Because I absolutely hate testing. As you can imagine, trying to, with the Hannah's, it's a little pouch that you cut in half, tip it out into a thing. As you can imagine, trying to do that with one hand ain't fun. But I do it because I need this to stay as it is. Anyway, that's number 4, preparation. And number 5, the last one, make sure you clean everything after. What you've got to remember is every form of test is done by a coloration at eyesight. If you don't clean, like say your nitrate turns bright red, if you don't clean your vial out after and you leave it to stay in the vial, that means you're not going to get an accurate reading next time round. So make sure you clean them. After I've done, I empty it all into one container, I put RO in, shake it, clean it, run it through for about 3-4 times. Also do this before you start, so you've got a clean vial when you start. It only takes 5 minutes, but it's worth it in the long run. I used to argue with one of my old bosses about it when I used to work in one of the shops, and he'd leave them for days on end. And it's like, you've just knackered that vial. Especially if you're using like a Hannah, that reads through the clarity of that vial. So if the vial's not clean, you're not going to get a good reading, and if it's stained by previous tests, same again, you're not going to get a clear reading. So clean your stuff after you've done it. There's quite a few tips there. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. If you think I'm talking crap, it's fair play. But I've been in this hobby for over 40 years, and these are tricks that I've learnt over the years, and mistakes that I've made by not testing at the same time and dosing when I didn't need to. I'll throw in a thing you want. If you've got anything automated as well, like I run an Apex and I've also got a KH Guardian. A problem I had this week, I tested my water on Sunday like I always do. Last couple of weeks I've missed because I've had a lot on. Anyway, my KH came back at 6.4. According to my KH Guardian, it was at 8.4. Now that's a big discrepancy. And that's only because I hadn't calibrated the probe when I was supposed to. I've been running it for 5 months. I should have calibrated probe about 2 months ago and I never thought about it, completely forgot. Set an alarm in your diary to remind you, or have a set point when you do all stuff like that, recalibrate your probes, test, cleaning your pumps and such like, all stuff like that, things that we all forget to do. So yeah, due to that I've ended up losing a couple of calls because my alkalinity had dropped dramatically. I'd also been doing big water changes because the ICP test that I'd done a few weeks back, which came back all good, just I need to do a few water changes. Anyway, I hope you like the video. Like and subscribe if you do. Give a comment if you want me to do a video on anything particular or any questions at all. Feel free to ask. Hope you all have a good week and take care, and I'll see you next week.